Everyone?
We are ready.
It is 6:08. I open the meeting for the Recreation Committee on Monday, July 17th, 2023. We should have the members present. Call the meeting to order. Who are our members present? Start down there.
Courtney Boudreau.
Mary Anastasio.
John Regan.
Dave Brohl.
Mark Sant.
Cindy Courier, the liaison from the CLA.
Okay. Everyone has taken their appointments and sworn in, I assume. And I think we still have conflict of interest forms to fill out. I think with the town, I think we have a certain amount of time to do that. Correct?
Conflict of interest and open
Meeting
meeting law
law,
direction.
yeah. It's a lot of fun.
If you can get your online, it's online. If you need, I will send out an email to everybody to show you the websites from the state, so you can do it on.
I've already done it.
Yeah, and you just,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're done with it? I'm done with it.
I'm done with it.
I'm not sure if I did it last year, or it's every 2 years you have to update it, so.
I'm done with it.
I'm done with it. I printed out the
Okay, great.
certificate.
Frame it.
I'm going to.
Our next list here is reorganization, fiscal year '24. I know we have a new member, John, and I think we have a form here.
Well, first we have to appoint, or
Point.
have people accept rules for the new year, the new president, or the president retain. So I'm going to make a motion that we retain our positions from last year. That would be David being the president, Mary the treasurer, the alternate backup treasurer would be Courtney, our IT specialist. How can you describe that?
Rec committee online.
My rec liaison. Liaison.
No, I don't like my rec. But that position, I will continue if everybody accepts.
Treasurer. Clerk, sorry.
Is that, we need a motion for that?
Second it. I'll do something.
Yeah.
John seconded. Let's vote on it. All approve?
Aye.
Aye?
Along with those formal, the informal, well, it can come up later, but also as we're doing positions, I'm making a suggestion that John be our pickleball liaison. So anything that does with pickleball goes to John. So we're not all trying to mix things up, and you'd be coordinating with the CLA. Does that make sense?
I'm humble.
I guess, yeah.
I make a
I don't know if
motion.
that's a thing, but.
It's not an official position, just so that it gets more streamlined and communications becomes better. So I'm asking, I'm making a motion that John is our pickleball liaison.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It is approved.
It's not going to be more.
That's why I didn't vote.
And then we can do that sheet.
Yes, we have Recreation Committee. We have payroll time by fiscal year '24. Primary, secondary, to sign the departments. Oh yeah, this is Courtney and
Yes.
Yeah, we have to.
I don't have a pen,
We
so.
just,
Yeah. I make a motion that Mary is the primary, Courtney is the alternate to sign any financial papers that we need to have signed, invoices, checks, etc. Can I have a second?
Second. I think we voted on that, but we can read down on that one. Is that it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then vote is, all in favor?
We are in favor.
I'll just run my name.
I think we still plan on meeting once a month. Is that it?
Yes. What I'm looking for is the date and time so I can, it's been
Well,
cumbersome.
let's plan on, is Monday night work for everyone? 6 p.m.? Anyone want to go later, or 6 p.m. works fine?
I'm just waiting.
And so I think 6 o'clock works well. The first Monday of the month, if there's a holiday,
We do
we
the
move
second.
to the second one.
Yep.
My goal here is to be able to reserve the room well in advance. We don't have one of the debacles that I created for last week. So make a motion that we
Do Mondays.
Mondays at 6 o'clock, first of the month. If there's a holiday, it'll be the second Monday of the month, same time. Any seconds?
All opposed or all approved?
All approved.
All right.
So August 7th is the next.
We will discuss, I think, at the end of the month, the meeting. Yeah, what we'll do is in the meeting, we'll just go over and make sure that no one has any conflicts on that, which is your. So I guess the idea is that we'll plan on meeting the first Monday of the month unless something comes up, which is, always does. Someone has to travel or two have to travel or something like that, and that may throw a wrench in it. But this way, at least Mark has sort of a template for reserving those times. All right. I don't think Chris is here.
Okay.
He may come later. Correspondence.
So, last meeting, we took in a check from Trenton Soccer. So that's been paid. Byfield Water just came in today.
Okay.
And last week was the Mellow charge with the extra pickup.
Yes, Chris.
So that did not make the end of the year warrant. The end of year warrant would have had to have been submitted on 7/6. So the next warrant, these both will be included in, will be 7/20 for payment on 7/27.
Okay.
And you said it would be, the check was from,
Trenton Soccer,
TYS.
yeah, okay.
yeah. Jason,
Yeah. Jason.
oh, that's him.
So bills and claims, that covers that, correct? We're all set. And so now we're in old business, so we want to go right to Chris, because Chris has a meeting later on tonight for his own
I
area.
make a motion that we suspend the order of business to accommodate our presentation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Chris, you ready, or do you want to
I am.
start?
I am. Just boards up. I'll get some handouts.
Thank you.
I apologize if it's difficult to see back there, but feel free to rotate around.
If we've got a handout, why don't we just
Sure. Why don't we just do it like this, and because I think visually we'll see it, and then after that, you can flip it over.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Chris Huntress with Huntress Sports and Huntress Associates for Landscape Architects out of Andover, Mass. What we're presenting tonight is a conceptual master plan for additional improvements to the Central Street fields. We have an overall development program that's accommodated on the plan. I'll run through what those elements are. We've got 3 boards. So the first is the master plan, that L1 that you see on the front. Second is an image board, if you will, of possibilities and things to kind of generate discussion for different parts of the master plan that might include shade structures or bike racks or boardwalks or other things like that. And then the third was a more detailed layout for a tot lot, which was part of the plan as well. So if you don't mind, I'll jump right in, and feel free to follow along. And I should, for those that don't know, we designed the original Central Street fields back in, I'm not even sure when now, 2003, I think 2003, 2004, right around that time. And they were built by Hartnett Construction. So the original master plan back at that time included the building, which has now been built. And then last year we worked with you on the development of the basketball court and sport court, which was constructed as well. So part of this scope I'm just gonna grab my list to make sure I don't forget anything. So part of this master plan, or the effort of this master plan, included program development for taking a look at your existing fields, your parking, and your walkways, looking and locating the existing basketball court, which had been located on the overall plan prior to. Look at things like ADA accessibility and how do we get from the parking, how do we make sure that all aspects of the park are accessible. A canoe launch and boardwalk down by the Parker River. Potential bridges over the small islands towards Triton Regional. Walking trail that surrounds the perimeter of the fields, which you see here in blue. A playground or tot lot, which is located right here, right above the basketball court. Electric vehicle charging station locations, which we put near the entry to the existing building. Bike rack and parking stations, which are bike rack parking station, which are again at that main entry into the site there. Volleyball court, and then outdoor shade structures. Some of the things that you'll see as you work your way around this plan, you're going to see these red stars or red asterisks. Those are areas where we consider entry, arrival, or features for, say, outdoor seating, outdoor classroom, amphitheaters, those kind of shade structures and the like, are all good locations for that. And bring you down right here, down to the potential boat launch as well. And some of the ideas that we had for things like shade structures, public art, and the like can be found on the second page. Starting in the upper left corner here, you'll see areas for, or images for possible outdoor classrooms and outdoor gathering spaces, accommodating crowds from as small as, say, 5 or 6 up to 30 or 40, depending on the scale and size that you wanted. Moving down, you've got the possible bike racks. You can go from kind of as simple as the U-channel racks to a little more detailed and ornamental, depending on what your taste is. Obviously, you get more detailed with those, price goes up as well. Moving over to the lower right, you have outdoor shade structures. And we've built many of these. We can show you good examples, but they go from kind of as simple timber structures up to shade canopies and different things. And a lot of it, again, comes down to the aesthetic that you're looking for out there and your budget as well. And then in the upper right-hand corner, we've got options for boardwalks. See, boardwalks are going to come with lots of different opportunities. We tend to design them with a rail system on either side. You don't have to, but I would recommend at least a bump rail that's going to keep somebody from going off either on a bike or a wheelchair, but have it plenty wide for accessibility, but you can see the different styles there. And we also included an image for an accessible kayak launch, which could go down in that location depending on water level down there, but it would give you another accessible location for recreation. And then finally, right up in the middle, public art and ways that we could locate and introduce public art either in temporary kind of rotating displays or in a more permanent setting as well if the town wanted to purchase that or work with a specific artist. So those are the two. And then finally the third page is a more detailed look at the tot lot. When we started this master plan process, there were some very specific questions on the tot lot, how big it could be, the size, what it might look like, the character. So we developed that part of the plan a little bit further along. We do feel strongly that the best location for the tot lot is above the, just above the basketball court. Because that becomes a central location, we did show a shade structure right next to it, and the building in this layout would be right here. For the reason that when you arrive at the site, I had 4 kids, so they all played sports. I would arrive, maybe the oldest one is going to play on the fields, the younger ones are going to be in the tot lot. You're going to be in the shade structure at the tot lot, but you want to have eyes across the field so that you can see all the kids at one time. So that's really why we recommend that tot lot go in this location. Could it be longer, skinnier, rounder? Lots of different configurations that we could do there, but we do think that's the right location. The layout that we've shown and the surfacing that we've selected are suitable for ages 5 to 12. The surfacing would be a rubberized, ADA accessible rubber safety surface, which is required now. And then the surround would be either a timber curb or a concrete curb, depending on your desire and overall cost. So I've kind of gone through a lot of things there. I can certainly stop here and back up and go wherever the committee would like.
I have a quick question about the, you had the timber structures for shade, and then
Yes.
the other ones were, are those, I guess the question is, with that field, and you know the field well, about how the wind gusts go, would those be fine in those areas?
They would be, they're rated for wind gusts. And they've got a pretty significant concrete anchor, particularly if you're looking at something like this one that kind of has the arch canopy over. Ones that, honestly, I think these two structures on the bottom are more suitable for the location.
Yep.
But I wanted to make sure that we provided, a breadth of options, if you will.
Is that something that, just for future, that maybe solar panels could possibly go on top of those
On
those
the
structures?
two on the bottom, yes.
Yeah.
On the others, no.
Okay, excellent.
I just have a question on the tot lot.
Sure.
For the, I guess it's not the flooring, the
Surfacing.
surface, thank you.
Yeah.
I've seen, obviously, some playgrounds have like wood chips and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Is it now required to have the rubberized mats, or
It
is
is,
that the
so-
way of the future, or is that just?
They haven't done away with the wood chips,
Right.
but they've made it, they being the ADA and Mass Architectural Access Board, have required either a rubber matted system like a pour-in-place rubber, or a loose matted system which would go on, say, on top of like a
Okay,
wood
so it
fiber.
would be like a floating.
Where you could put them in. The problem with those is that, and we've used them, they're good, but they require a lot of maintenance. You have to come out and continually reset them and redo the subbase underneath and get those down. So by the time you do all that, and you have to get it all the way from the point of egress
Right.
to the different play structures throughout the equipment, so you're doing quite a bit of it. And by the time you do all that, you're starting to look at the pour-in-place rubber a little
Gotcha.
bit harder.
Gotcha. All right, great, thank you. That
You're
answered
welcome.
my question and also gave me a little bit of an education as to the why behind that selection.
This top lot is one very similar that we just did for the city of Lowell, about the same. It's a little bit smaller than the one we did for Lowell, but it's the same manufacturer and similar square footages. And the cost range for install, including construction, was in that case about $350,000 to $400,000, just to give you a range,
Yeah,
kind
thank
of
you.
range magnitude of what we're looking at.
I don't miss the days of having to measure the depth of the wood chips or whatever fill you have and maintaining that, so when the inspector comes, quick, you need to put more on.
Yeah.
So it's great that we're going to the mat. A couple of questions. The tot lot, I know when I've worked on projects like this before, we try to separate the age intended use so that the older kids, third, fourth graders, are far enough away from the little kids and are staying as we can off the little kids' equipment, and the little kids aren't trying to get onto the bigger equipment. This seems to be older than, set for a particular age group.
These are 5 to 12 is the age range that we're looking at, which admittedly is a broad range, but you're either under 5 or 5 to 12. Is kind of the, and given the client base that I expect you to see, I think that 5 to 12 range would be just about right. We could look at ways to separate some of the equipment. We went with primarily one larger climbing structure and sliding structure across the front here that you see in this, and then more swing and mobility type exercises in the back.
Okay. With the walking trail, when I looked at the plan, it seemed that you had it at the rear of the property where the walking trails were to the uplands.
Talking about associated with the top lot now, or?
No, moving on to the walking trail.
Okay, so the walking trail is shown entirely in blue.
And then the connection to the Triton complex.
Yeah, we stopped down here at the, what we call the boat launch, really because I wanted to better understand from you folks how you'd like to connect and where that connection might be.
Okay, because the connection to that is at the what would it be, the northeast corner of the property going to a easterly direction.
Yeah, you go field 2, basically, and go down.
No, bring
Go
your
to,
finger
go
down
down
to
to
the field house.
field number 2,
Yeah,
and then go down from there,
down this
basically.
way?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, that way would be general.
is there an existing path through
There's
there?
There
an
is.
existing path with a stream that we need to cross. Right now, there's temporary plate over
You
that.
see the stream right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all critical, area of critical environmental concern.
You're in that, you're in the wetlands, you're in the 200-foot riverfront
I'm gonna
area.
head.
Yeah.
Doable.
Yeah, no, it is doable, particularly for a hiking trail. I mean, it's certainly doable, and most commissions want to encourage some form of recreation. We just have to do it carefully. So what I should do is go down there and locate that, and we can add that to the plan.
And then the canoe launch, some of us have been down there. I've worked with an organization. One of the big concerns is it being a tidal river,
Yeah.
and it needing to be navigable at all times. At least that's what the engineers I spoke with. And one of the concerns, particularly during summer when it's low tide and low
Yeah.
water zone, it might be 6 feet at best across in some of the areas. And to make that ADA accessible would be cumbersome, particularly if the only means of accessing that part of the property is by non-vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
We have a gate down that blocks traffic to the lower part,
Right.
and the idea maybe is to be able to remove that and put fencing at the rear of the soccer fields, because what we're trying to do is prevent
Okay.
cars. Put more of the chain fencing that is currently around the front half from the field house to Central Street.
Is that the post and chain that you're?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way, our goal has always been to keep, what is it, the every 3 or 4 year hijinks, joyride that digs up the fields.
Yep.
And so the fence was sort of, let's put part of that.
It's been making its way around,
Yeah.
and so we're close to what we probably gave 3/4 of the way around.
Yeah, it's already up to part of the septic area.
Yeah, near field 2, the end of field 2 is the end, and so we just have to continue that.
We do show the vehicular traffic coming down this whole
Yep.
roadway here. That's what the yellow indicates.
Yep.
Yeah.
To bring you down to here, and my hope was that the hammerhead down there would be large enough to accommodate 1 or 2 at least handicapped vehicles down there.
Yeah, it can, there is a paved area down there, a little rough shape over years of deferred maintenance, but that could work. But the design that we have out there to make it ADA accessible, from the engineers I spoke with, couldn't be done. I mean, everything can be done with time and money,
Mhm.
but how many hundreds of thousands of dollars can we put
Right,
into?
so I guess what my question is, what is your expectation down at that point? Did you want a boat launch? Did you want just a viewing area?
It could be both.
Okay.
One is, instead of calling it a boat launch, and I don't know how this fits with the ADA regs, is a canoe access point, somewhat similar to what the state did off of Route 1 in Newberry to the Parker River, just
Mhm.
past the Woods Hole property going north on Route 1.
Or it is, I haven't seen what they did
There's basically a path.
there. Okay.
There's other people here who can speak more to it. I don't know if that fits ADA, I don't know. It would be nice to have a viewing area down there, either in the uplands where the island is, or part of that knoll. There's a nice peak
Yeah.
on the northern side that would, but the trails that currently exist on that knoll already supports. So if at some point
Agree.
you want to
That's
walk the
nice.
property, we'd
Yeah.
love to take you there.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So I was concerned as well with what the possibility for boat launch might mean down here. We've worked on a couple of ADA accessible boat launches, and typically that means something like you saw in that image where we've got the accessible ramp that allows a wheelchair or non-able-bodied person to come out and be able to get into the boat and launch the boat, and also then as important as coming back.
Yeah, having the water up there so you
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Other alternatives we could certainly take a look at, and a lot of it would depend upon that tidal elevation where we are.
The walking path around the fields, is that the one you're talking about having the edging on, or is that would just be basic? Like, how would you approach that?
Well, it's gotta be ADA accessible, so
Okay.
stone dust, or I wouldn't do wood chip in that, but you could do a stone dust path.
Yep.
The problem with a stone dust path is you've got to constantly maintain it to make sure it stays ADA accessible. The other alternative would be an asphalt path that would be paved.
Okay.
You'd have to be a minimum of 4 feet in width. We'd recommend that you're closer to 6 or 8 feet to accommodate, you know, a site this large is going to have multiple people and potential bikes and
Yep.
others. I'd want it probably.
Bike strollers,
Yeah.
dogs, and those.
Right. But you've got good access around to be able to put it in. You've got good availability. The only time you cross through a buffer zone is right over in here between fields 5 and 4 as you come around this corner. And we could tighten this up and bring it a little tighter. Now I get this way, it depends on what the topography is doing in there. But that's one where I would work with the Conservation Commission and actually lay it out in the field and say, you know, what makes the best sense as we look at this land to work on that in here.
One of my concerns is the location of the top lot in relationship to the fields.
Okay.
It is, those fields 1 and 2 are historically been used for lacrosse, and 3, 4, and 5A, 5B have been used for soccer. There's a rationale behind that from years ago.
So I'm sorry, what was that? 1 and 2 or
1,
lacrosse?
2, and then that,
Keep going, 5, those
Yeah.
3 are soccer, okay.
yeah. And particularly with lacrosse, there had been concerns in the past about, one, where lacrosse warms up. Soccer has the same issue prior to games. That space had been a good location for the lacrosse teams to warm up, because the way the games are being scheduled now, there is maybe 5 minutes or less, maybe 10 minutes between games. So there's not time for teams to assemble, get on the field, throw the ball around for it. So that was what that space was used for. Understanding that it's used for lacrosse, there is concern about errant passes in that direction. And from experience, lacrosse balls hurt.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
It's about-
That field tends to be the girls' side, and the one is where the boys have been.
Okay.
I-
The reason that we located this where we did, you know, as I kind of walked my way around the site, you know, where could we put top lot? I try not to put it into or immediately on the parking area. I want to try and separate that top lot activity from the vehicular circulation as best I can, but I do want it in close proximity to the bathrooms and the entry and arrival, which is why it's here. You know, really your other options, by the day, if you've eliminated the parking lot, I could look at other areas, you know, we could potentially be down in here or even behind, but I want visibility out across the fields from where that top lot is for the parents who are going to use it. The other option brings you over here towards, you know, these 3 fields, but if you're coming just for the top lot, that's a long hike to get out there.
If you take a look at where you have your path written right now for walking path,
Yeah.
there seems to be equal amount of space from where the tot lot basketball court is to where that is. So if they had to practice, they could practice on that.
Find where you mean.
So this spacing here that
Yep.
Mark was talking about, if they decide that if you put the tot lot there, they could be practicing here and have pretty much the same spaces. Yeah, and it just, I think the biggest problem right now, as we've talked about it before, is that there's times where our parking max there, and I agree. My concern originally was, could we put it in there because of the septic, but you worked that out, so, I mean.
Yeah, your septic field is further down. There's a line that goes there, and I probably would make this top lot a little longer and skinnier to make that work, and we could even then start looking at curves and other things. But that's why that's located there.
Yep.
Other things we could consider there, I wouldn't necessarily do a 6-foot chain link fence, but you could do a netted system,
Yep.
netted safety system. I'm sure you've seen them on many of the fields. And it doesn't have to be tall enough to stop the ball, it has to be tall enough to stop the ball that's gonna land in the top lot. So it's
Yeah.
gonna, you know, you're not gonna stop every ball, you put 12 foot, you put 18 foot, some
Yeah.
kids gonna take it as a challenge and start
Yeah.
launching them over.
Yeah,
Trust
Well, it's
me,
not
I've
even a
seen it.
challenge, it's more of a, I just don't know how to throw.
So, but there are ways to protect the tot lot in that location that I think would make sense.
Yeah.
And having said that, there's still some flexibility to shift it around kind of in this quadrant and probably make it work.
I kind of like the location.
I do too, next to the bathrooms, absolutely.
I was thinking about you. You have a, is it 2-year-old? How does this feel? Would you like more, what would you like more of for your age bracket? And if we could
I mean,
do
I
something.
think just logistically, being able to park, lug all the stuff, like you said, not very far, would be nice, being able to view the fields from the tot lot. I think it's important to be near a bathroom, a water source near the field house. And I also, you know, it looks like it's right next to the walking path, which would be nice if you take a stroller around. Shade for sure. Would
Yeah,
be
especially
really
out there,
important,
yeah.
especially where there's no shade in that area. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, I do feel like the age range in terms of the playground itself, it's like my almost 3-year-old could definitely play on this and be fine.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, I don't have like
Cool.
a concern about that necessarily. It doesn't look too like complex.
You know, there are portions of that.
Because certainly during the day, during the week when the elementary kids are in school, it's the 2, 3, and 4-year-olds that are going to the playground during the week and during the day. So, I mean, I think as long as they're, like I know this is just a layout plan, but I see like the toddler swings, so I think would be an important thing to add, and just making sure there's like things that some 2, 3, and 4-year-olds can go on. It doesn't necessarily have to be separated, but just
Yeah.
present, because I've seen some that are like crazy, like to the 12-year-olds, but this looks fine.
Yeah, this is, we didn't put any towers in this or anything really. You know, there's
Yeah.
no, you know, zip lines or anything like that, so it's pretty
Yeah,
pedestrian from
Yeah.
a top lot perspective.
right.
This looks similar to one that was at Breakout Reservation that my
Okay.
son used to play on, so I think it's good.
But I like, I in that area of location makes sense. I love the idea, like, right next to the parking lot. I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it, but.
Good? Any questions?
Sure. Jack Rybicki, 37 Larkin Road. Wonderful presentation, and thank you for your time. One thing that's not discussed that I think should be on the platter is the dog park, or a dog park of some kind. The area that you walk down to where Mark is proposing the connection to Triton, which is a steel plate at the moment. That hill area affords itself to a dog area. We fight the dogs at Martha Pearson per the last select board discussion area, and as we all know by driving past Central, at any given time, it's free reign for any dog, and it's not fair to the kids who come to use it, whether it's cleaned up or not, because something's left behind, be assured. So I ask, without consideration, as most other towns hitting the next level, I think this is the area and the park area for consideration, and it'd be a low money, big impact, quality of life issue for today's taxpayers, and for the kids who come to use the fields as well. I think without it, we're forever fighting the dogs on that field, and whatever improvements we make without a fence, whether it's the playground surface or not, those dogs are gonna help themselves in there as well. So we gotta afford a spot to give them, so we can say, take your dogs down here. We have the signs up now that say Board of Health, you know, and signs and threats and stuff, but it
Yeah.
doesn't work because they look at us and say, we got no place to bring them. Where can we bring them? I think this is an opportunity, and I think it's worth consideration.
Can I-
Thank you.
Can I address you, Jack? There are no signs that says anything other than dogs that's a city code or regulation. We do have regulations regarding dogs on Plum Island during certain times. We do also have an open leash law. We do not have an open leash law in this town. The other part to that is if dogs are a nuisance on the property, the animal control officer or police officer can respond to it. That's that part. Let me finish, please. When I went around to the different towns, I mean, does anybody know where any other dog parks are?
Newburyport down the waterfront,
I don't think there's
Groveland down at Point of
I don't think
Pines.
there's a
Stop.
fence around the one in Newburyport.
My point is this, it's not a dog park because you're enclosing something. And the reason they open that up is they don't want people in the ball fields, what's right next to the one. And that's limited hours to get your dogs off. We're thinking about the same place, off of Cashman's.
Yep.
All right, the one over in Groveland, the reason when I talked to some people there, that was put in is to keep people out of the enclosed ball field, the Martha Pearson issue. So we want to keep people out of the ball fields because it's going to happen. The most recent one in the area is in Danvers. When I spoke to people who put that in, is Danvers tends to have a very small lot size. So they can't really let their dog out and about. Most of our lot sizes are minimum in Byfield, middle of the town, not Plum Island, or certain parts of Old Town. They're at least an acre, almost an acre. So there's an opportunity there. Going forward, the question of, we can have all the dog parks we want. It's the owners, because you keep on saying the dogs want this, it's the owners that let them. So the idea is putting a park there. If I'm a dog owner and I have big fields here, I'm not going to walk all the way down there to enclose them. The other part is safety for the dogs. Unless you have two separate parks for large dogs and small dogs, there's going to be a problem. The other part about dog parks is everybody assumes that all dogs get along. They don't. And who's going to be responsible when your dog attacks my dog? I don't know who you are. So there's a real concern about the safety of the dogs. I brought this to an organization I'm involved with that does dog training. And my associates have said, you know, if you're in an urban area like Somerville, Cambridge, and you don't have that space because you live in a 3-family house, it's nice, but you have to know who's going there. When you're out here in Ipswich, Newbury, wherever, there's ample places to bring your dog. The issue about defecation on a field, we've only received one complaint since I've been on the board. One complaint, and I addressed it. Most of the dog owners that I've met up there, and I've met probably 15 of them, are responsible. Okay.
Thank you. Being a guy from Danvers, I can assure you that it's not as city-like as you are making it out to be. Cindy's from Danvers, and she'll assure you as well as a lot of...
Jen.
Mark, I got the floor. Thank you. I can assure you that providing a service for the dogs in the area, for instance, Groveland just spent a considerable amount of time investing in such a dog park. I submit to you, Mark, also that there is fear in letting our dogs run free in all the woods because of foxes, fisher cats, and the other animals that prey on our domesticated animals. Providing such a location is always up to and the responsibility of those who use it, whether it's the open field or the dog park. The fact is, Mark, we don't have one in town to offer anybody. This is an opportunity to offer something that isn't now offered. Again, short money, big return, because I can assure you more than the one person you've chased down who shit on our field is not the only person who is on that field and that has allowed it and gone forth, because it isn't policed. It has never been policed and it won't be policed. And until we afford a place to send them, they're not going to just, oh, I'll use the field and not the fence out back, Mark. That's fallacy, and that's a wrong thing to think. I think the responsible dog owners that you speak of will walk their dogs to the pen, understanding that there's a social component for the dogs, and will use it accordingly. I think summarily shutting it down from your seat is not, I appreciate your opinion, but I think the opinion of a master plan lies with all of the citizens in town. I
Yeah, no,
appreciate that.
I totally agree, and I think it should be something that we should put on the list of possibilities. I know that you at one point had, I think you might have something to do with Kent Way, and Kent Way is something we've been thinking about, maybe moving in that direction and putting a dog park in Kent Way. We've discussed that before. And that would alleviate dogs from going in that direction and heading to another section of town, so.
And to back into that, it'd be next to the ball field, so there's no reason to use the ball field as the contained area.
Yeah.
So there's a win-win there, right, Jack?
I think we have to finish the master plan here before we go opening any single can of worms that the 4 acres, 5 acres Kent Way is. That's virgin property that requires a whole different methodology, as Mr. Huntress will assume. I think we have a beautiful pastel here that we bought 15 years ago that we need to finish, frankly. I think it affords all the opportunities that we've spoken of, and keep kicking it to Kent's Way doesn't solve anything.
Well,
We're still 15 years down the line without having done much, frankly.
Totally agree. I just don't see public outcry right now to have a dog park. But I have no problem putting it on the agenda, putting one of the things you could, do a plan for it and a location.
I'd be happy to take
Yeah.
a look at this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has there been a survey to ask the town of any of the demands or asks? I mean, besides the committee coming up with it, I'm asking that genuinely.
No, not that I know of.
So I think that has to go out to the people, right?
Maybe. So why don't we put that on one of the list of things to do? If you can set aside a certain amount of acreage, and we'll come up with something.
We've done multiple dog parks,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to take a look at it
Yeah.
and size it appropriately. Mark's point is a good one about smaller dogs versus larger dogs.
Yeah.
You do want to
Yeah.
separate those two. You do want kind of a gateway entry, if you will, where you
Yeah.
can close one gate before.
And then
you
the
open
other question
second
is
gate.
to legally, what that presents to the town as far as, dogs getting involved with other dogs or hurting other dogs or hurting people, and us setting up that format for that. So let's do if you can do an area, a small area for that.
Sure.
I
Take a look
will
at it.
talk to the town administrator and find out legally what might be a problem with that. Yeah,
Can I ask a question and kind of switch gears a little bit?
but,
Just from personal experience, and I think John can speak to it too, at the basketball court / pickleball court, we're using that for pickleball.
Yep.
There's a huge amount of wind there.
Yep.
Is there any kind of like windscreen type thing that we can put up? Because I'm even thinking of the tot lot, you got like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old playing on the playground on a windy day, it gets pretty tough over there.
You could. The only issue with a windscreen is it's going to limit visibility one way or the other. So putting it, say, I'm not sure which way the prevailing winds are coming, but coming across this way, it wouldn't make sense to put it in front of the tower.
No, I feel like it comes, don't you?
That
It comes.
visibility. Comes across.
Actually, it's on the map. Look at prevailing winds here.
True.
Winter winds and summer winds.
Dana, while you're
Summer,
here,
winter winds, but
the town hall committee looked at some land by the transfer station, right? Wasn't that one of the proposed sites?
For,
Dog park.
no, that's a solar area.
That's a solar
Yeah, you can't, they can't really discuss.
No,
We were a quorum up until 3 seconds ago, and we don't have a posted meeting, so.
Okay.
But now that we're not, I don't know if I can answer the question or not.
No, it's gonna be a solar field, that was really never part of that.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But when they were trying to site the new town hall, one of the sites wasn't on top of the bump. It was where I think the solar was gonna go. Was at the corner, there was some land there, and they perked it, and it couldn't support, or it didn't have sewage or something. There was some reason that they moved off.
The town forest is at the V in the road, correct?
Yeah.
At the V of Hay and Boston is
Right.
30 acres of property,
Okay.
another.
all right, let's sort of table this discussion on the dog park. We'll go in that direction if you have a chance for that. We have a question right here.
Yeah, Dave, just one suggestion, just for consideration if you walk in the park, and at the end of field 2 and field 4,
Yep.
On the other side of the dirt road,
Yep,
there's kind of like an area that's cleared but drops off.
yep, yep.
Can you maybe consider putting a retaining wall, leveling it off as a smaller field, athletic field? Maybe even, because it's smaller, adding turf there. So therefore, it's almost year-round if it's clear.
On which field now?
In between
It's on the other side of the dirt.
2 and 4.
Over this area.
Yep, on the other, at the end of field 2 and field 4, on the
Oh, yeah,
other
yeah,
side of
yeah.
the dirt
Yep,
road.
yep.
Yep, it drops off, it's already cleared,
Yep,
but if at the end of where the wood line begins, if you make a retaining wall and you backfill that, that becomes an automatic usable area that can be
okay,
potentially rented.
okay.
And if it's converted into, since it's a smaller field, into a turf field, you don't have to worry about sprinklers. And it allows the athletic sports teams be able to use it earlier in the spring, so that they stay off from the regular fields till they're ready.
All right. I think I see what you're talking about. All right. Board, any other questions? Thoughts?
I like it. I think it's appropriate. I like the positioning. I like some of the options. So I don't have any questions. It's just a statement.
Sound good?
I agree.
I think there's a lot of potential there that needs to continue. I would think we need to keep working on and looking at costs and how we want to approach
Yeah.
it, but this is a great start.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your time and
Yeah.
effort and flexibility to meet with us.
We're about, just so everyone understands what we are contractually, we're about halfway through what we consider our effort to be for the master plan. We'll go back and make these revisions that we've talked about. We still owe you a couple more meetings
Yeah.
to go through and fine tune some of this. One leave behind I'd like to just let you start thinking about are where we show these little kind of red asterisks here.
Yep.
Are areas that are nice gathering spots. They've either got a good vista or they're in a convenient location. And I'd like you to think about those locations from a public art standpoint, from a gathering or seating area, from an
Yeah.
outdoor classroom. They're good opportunities for environmental education out there. Those would be good little gathering spots on what that may look like. Personally, for me, I think I'd like to see it look a little more natural than built, but we can do that with a lot of, even just large boulders in a circle.
Yeah, I saw that with boulders.
Different areas. We've done a lot of outdoor classroom work, particularly recently through COVID, so there's a lot of good examples about how that might work out there.
Cool.
Okay?
Awesome. Did you guys want to take a look at this? Anyone wants to take a look at the pictures of what he's proposing?
Well, I can do that. I intended to leave these boards with you
Okay,
as well.
awesome. Awesome.
Oh, great. That's
So
great.
leave here, something also,
I- I'll
on
just-
the way out,
I know.
whatever works for you guys.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so
Just
much.
leave them here.
Yes.
Chris, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, thank you. I will send a summary email, if not tomorrow, then later this week, that outlines our discussion this evening
Yep.
and the next steps and the additional things we're going to include.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about, I think the site, you mentioned sidewalks, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yep.
For us to get out there, and then we can come back and present kind of a final version of it.
Cool.
As
Sure,
you-
cooler day. It may end up being September.
Awesome.
Thank you all for your time.
Hey, thank you. All right, I say we go back to,
I make a motion, we turn back to our agenda.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go back. Update in pickleball. We now have a pickleball coordinator.
Do you want to start? You had,
Oh, I got an email. So a question came up about painting. We've been doing the tape lines. So I contacted the people that originally put in that court and asked them a couple times about maybe painting. And they tried to talk me into another surface and another court because, but it was, that's what they did. And pickleball court, the way the ball bounces is different than a
Right.
basketball court.
Right.
But I said it works for us right now. And so he gave a cost of $2,000 to paint the lines from what was a basketball court to add on pickleball court. Seems like a decent figure for me, but I think what we should do on this part is wait to talk to the town administrator to find out where those funds would come from. And if they come from our budget, then we could vote on it next week. I could call up, and it seems like it's a pretty seamless thing to have them paint the lines.
What was the name of that company?
Can I tell you?
Please.
I just think it will help encourage
It's
more
gonna
people
change
to
your
play.
life.
Yeah, it's an hour to set up the lines, but it will allow people more access because it's already painted and they just, if they have a net, or my intention is to have the COA have our own net and kind of borrow it like a library book, you know what I mean? They sign it out for the weekend and they can bring the equipment back, but they don't have to worry about the lines, they'll already
Yeah.
painted. I just think it'll encourage more people to play.
Yeah.
There actually is a net at the library too, and
Great.
that is one of the, not stumbling block, but nets are an issue, and if the courts are publicly available,
And you just have to, I mean, the net is so easy.
It's very much okay to say you need to bring your own net, you know, I
Sure,
think
and a lot of
that's
people
okay.
have
Yes.
that equipment.
Yeah,
Not everybody.
But the line, no, but like we can
Right.
have it,
Yeah.
and like you said, the library, and it just, I think it would open it up to a lot more people.
what was the name of the company?
It's Sport Court of Massachusetts, SPORT, Mass, and his name is John, and it's basically John Cameron. And you know what?
All right, no, that's fine.
Cool.
Because I stopped by Newburyport today and spoke to the manager over there, and they just put in 4 pickleball courts, essentially in a parking area.
Yep.
The company he used was Sport Tech
Yep.
out of Salem.
Yep. No.
And he had actually, off the cuff, said, oh, you want him to paint your lines at $3,000. So I was shocked because I thought the $2,000 was high.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. But he also said that he put in those courts for like $15,000.
Yeah.
The groundwork was done, they just put the kind of gooey tennis surface we're
Yeah.
all used to,
Yeah.
and put the nets in. So that's kind of an interesting aspect, but, I mean, I could reach out to Sport Tech
Yeah.
and ask them for price to paint, and
Okay.
then we'll just go from there.
Okay.
And just, because I would like to see, if we're gonna do it, it'd be nice to do it this year.
Yeah. And I think that if we can figure out where the allocation of funds come from, that would be pretty seamless.
Yeah.
We'd bring a motion, we'd vote on it, and
Yeah.
we could call
And I think all these guys, you gotta get in line.
Yeah.
It would be the other comment.
Yeah.
Good choice of words.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I think the painting part may not be as much as the total construction, because I know the total construction is gonna be a wait, but they
Yeah.
probably have one guy that does the painting.
Yeah.
And so,
Makes sense.
yeah, he seemed like, after all the back and forth, it was kind of like, boom, yeah, 2,000, we can do it.
All right, so I'll make that
Yeah,
contact, then we can just talk about it before the next meeting, or that we decide one or
Yep.
the other, or actually maybe ask for quotes even.
yeah, yeah. Sport Tech, I've heard of them. I knew that Beverly dealt with them for doing their course.
I just went on their website, but it seemed like everybody around here
Yeah,
used it.
yeah, they're local.
Endicott College, all the towns, and so it's, and they've been around for a while. We
We-
just did Salem,
Yeah.
and Salem's are gorgeous. I went through Salem the other day.
We approached them originally for the basketball court and, just for pricing and stuff like that. And at that point, they weren't doing that. They weren't
No.
doing that type of service. And
Yeah.
obviously, times have changed. All right.
Can we go a little bit more into pickleball?
Go ahead.
I just want to give an update. The court has been shifting. DPW staked out one end of it as recommended.
Yeah.
It's continued to shift. The hypothesis is that it's hydroplaning, particularly after the rains that we've been having and continuing to move, and if each panel moved less than 1/16 of an inch, it's a couple inches by the time we're done. So the strategy right now is we're going to try to put a heavy-duty landscape fabric
Yep.
as far in as they can without dismantling the whole thing on all 4 sides to create a friction layer.
Yeah, and that's fine. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get in touch with John and Chris had already mentioned it before, about getting in contact with him about creating some kind of remedy about that, because he knew it was 1% decline, I mean, 1% drop. But he said he was gonna talk to him. I'll bring it back up in an email to find out if there's something, because they may still cover it. They put it in, and I know that it's been 2 years, that court's been there?
So I did promise you pictures, so.
Yeah,
That's the cut in,
yep,
and it's just tight.
Yeah.
And if it slides an inch, then this bumps up,
So, yeah.
which is a safety hazard.
yeah, which happened to me before, yeah.
But if you just trim the rest of this, I think it's okay. You've seen it when it's
Yeah.
bumped up.
And is
I think if we just give it some room to float and just understand it's gonna float.
it gonna migrate still in that direction, that's the question?
Probably not, because the field size is anchored.
Okay, it is
Like
anchored.
every 3 feet. It
Okay.
probably should be every foot, but they did anchor, and that anchor didn't move.
Okay.
Yet we had this thing was 2 or 3 inches off the ground.
Okay.
So it's just cutting, I mean, someone did a nice job, but it's, both of them are that way. And I don't think it's gonna shift more than an inch, but I think we need to plan on it shifting.
Yeah, I didn't know if the way that design with the.
I have no idea, that's why, that would mean, that would be, to me, I'd go sport court, just,
Yeah.
just say to them, all right, can you trim the rest of
Okay,
that? And they know
all
what
right,
they're
I
doing.
will, I'll get it, I'll email
But
it.
yeah, DPW has some extra tiles, and what said they would do is swap out an existing
Oh, excellent.
and replace it. I don't know if they're gonna be cutting out, my assumption is they would, so it stays, doesn't
Good, all right.
make that safety hazard present.
And you got that from James?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why we need to have a coordinator. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
not 3 people.
Well,
The
three-
other
three
question
hands on
is,
the
I don't know who they were, I was up at the court, and a couple of parents, older people were asking how can those who do not access the COA time slot get to use it regularly. And while it's first come, first served, there's no dedicated time. And the question becomes, do we allocate an evening or two, particularly when the lines are already at the moment taped on, to say, all right, from 5 to 7:30 is family time, adult time. One court, so it's not taking up the basketball court. So they can still shoot around and people can play pickleball.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is we got a half court would have, if we had them design it as far as painting, maybe we can get 2, I don't know if it's possible, you would know, put 2 courts on one side and 1 on the other, or do you guys
We
have
set it up
3?
as 3.
3 across?
Three courts.
It's 3, and essentially the second court is at center court.
Yeah, so that makes it,
Yeah,
so,
but I've also had the experience of playing pickleball while there were people at the other who were playing basketball, and we got along as well.
okay.
In fact, by the end, they had come over and they were.
And started playing.
All right,
So like court 1, furthest, closest to the field house, and then court 2 would be in the middle, and court 3, and we reserve court 1. I was thinking Tuesday because it's already in line that morning. So let's utilize instead of a Friday night, which may or may not have the tape still up.
It will, particularly in the heat.
all right, so what you're saying is, are we dedicating Tuesdays half court for pickleball, or 3/4 court for pickleball?
One pickleball court, arbitrarily labeled court 1,
Yeah,
for families or adults.
okay,
Parents need to be there, so it's not an, well, I haven't thought out how we want to word it, but allocate with a group. So if I wanted to come up with my kids, I could play pickleball, or.
But they'll
somebody
have to go to the library to borrow their net or have their
That's,
own
yeah,
net.
but they
Okay.
can.
But the lines will be there.
Yeah, for that night, and if it's not, if nobody's using the court, then basketball can take it over, like our other allocation, nobody's there, they get to use it. When it's that time slot and pickleball shows up, then they, we work with Newbury Police to say, look, this is being reserved for pickleball, if there's any confrontation.
And how
is,
we, how we
Yeah.
advertise that.
see, that's gonna be a problem with the,
Like,
with my rec.
Well, we could put it, the recreation committee can reserve it
Yep.
Right.
So Tuesdays, it would just be reserved at certain
from
hours.
whatever time, and we can work on more of the finer points for the next meeting.
Yeah, because I don't see a problem with, let's saying, you know, Tuesdays,
Block off.
whatever that time is, no basketball or pickleball unless someone you know, the pickle people don't show up, then basketball.
Salem's got like a little sign,
Yeah,
essentially says, because that's tennis,
Yeah.
Salem Willows courts are tennis with pickleball
Yeah, yeah.
markings on.
Yep.
There are no nets, you gotta bring your own net, It really doesn't say anything about that, but it actually has, you know, you can't play tennis on these courts on this
Oh, cool.
particular day.
I mean, we could have it on our website, some of it could go out with any of the town mayors, maybe a COA, so that people who are not involved with COA but get the newsletter are aware of it. And we will work with the town to help.
We don't have it,
Should we put up a bulletin board in the rec hall or not?
Not yet.
Because I was gonna say, that would
That's a
be
great
something we
place.
could put, so that if somebody was walking through,
I'm
we would
worried
see.
about you pickleball people taking over, you know, from us
You should
basketball
be,
people.
because it's
Trying
very
to line
popular.
up.
You know,
It is
just
very popular.
socialize it.
I know, and it's like a drug for crying out loud, you know,
Does
yeah,
the
start
town
playing
of, does the
pickleball.
town of Newbury itself, I know there's like a byfield or whatever, and you use Newbury on Facebook, but does the town have an official like social media?
Facebook page, I believe they do.
This counts for a nation.
I do have a Facebook page.
Just to get the word out, because, I mean, like, I went get the Council of Aging.
Yeah, I do.
It's like a young thing, it's a young.
Your
You
time
don't
will
know,
come.
yeah, yeah.
Your
Just-
time will
I know,
come.
But
That's how
it
I got
will,
hooked
but
on
I'm just
pickleball,
saying if
from the
like,
newsletter.
Yeah, you would never
we're
know about it.
advertising it to families,
Yeah.
now it's like.
Sanitation.
So we're actually looking at reaching out to the select board as the council on aging to put something in a upcoming like tax bill, like a one-page, half-page flyer, like, did you know, kind of thing about the council on
Oh, that's a
aging.
great idea.
For families like you that have, you're not on my mailing list, you know, but you can still go to my website or my Facebook page and see kind of what's going on. It could, that's not gonna be for, I have to petition the select board and everything, so that'll be a while. But it's just another method we could use, is to put something in a,
I mean, I'm happy, like, personally to put up, like, hey, town of Newbury residents on like Facebook, but
Yeah,
I can come up with a flyer if you'd like.
Okay.
Well, let's get, think our ducks in a row and come up with a strategy, and those sounds like great options.
all right, so is this going to be a ongoing discussion? So we're not setting aside any time at this point?
No, let's
Okay.
do some more research,
Yeah.
more information.
And get those lines painted one way or another? Okay.
ASAP.
I did try the website, by the way. We had a birthday party, pickleball
Mhm.
birthday party, sorry. On Saturday, and I went online and tried to reserve the court, and got through it, but I
the date
never,
was held.
I never heard back, yeah.
Yeah, so
On
I,
Myrick?
yes, so it is there.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yep, and I think I had written last week when I was gonna be here, you know,
Yeah.
John Reagan requested this
Oh.
coming Saturday. So I guess in terms of those sorts of individual requests, like I held the date,
Yep.
but I mean, it was gonna happen before meeting, so I figured I'd throw it out there. Then what if it doesn't, what if he wants this Saturday, somebody wants this Saturday? And,
He's a town resident.
right,
We have to approve it, so things are gonna take time, so it's planning ahead. And
So should we put that kind of,
yeah, that would be part of
you
the
know,
information.
part of it would be, so it's no cost to a town resident,
right.
but they need to,
Well,
like, give 2 weeks notice or whatever, a month's notice,
shouldn't be a
because you need
cost
to do
to
the
a
month
town.
before. But
Yeah,
that's
you can't
hard
just do it,
because
like,
you're not,
next
it's
week.
outside, so you're looking at weather and that's the only problem.
Right.
That's what we're running into, is it's,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
we will confirm all that information
Yep.
as we put together the
Yeah.
package.
Okay.
So,
All right, pickleball done? Any more discussion on that? That's a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
done.
Next thing, updating the lighting proposal for field.
Yes, there has been a request to move from electric, from
Yeah,
gas, diesel to electric lights. Benefits are not having the exhaust on the field, better direction of the lighting, less expensive, better lighting, because they'd be using LEDs as opposed to current stuff. When I spoke with the town administrator, the question really became, how do we charge the organization or individual for that electricity? Well, it seems to be a trivial amount. I think it was under $200 for a season. The question is, it's still money coming out from the town, so we'd have to figure out a way to either put a new meter box in for that, allocate, and it's a matter of trying to understand how remuneration is made for those stuff.
Question.
My rec-
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
What field are you
name.
Nick Moritz, Larkin Road.
Cool.
What field are you referring to that has lights?
Right now, when they run it in the fall,
Where, like on Mantor or? Is
yeah,
it-
well, yeah, in the Central Street fields, they run lights on them, they're diesel powered lights, and they run them from whenever the fall, let's say
When the time
5,
changes,
yeah, from 5 to 7 or 5 to 8.
Those are like mobile lights?
Yeah, they're mobile lights,
Okay.
I don't know if they're kerosene or they're,
Yeah,
and they've been running those for years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they started,
And is it only on a portion of the field? Because like,
Yeah.
I would assume that you can't do it to, I'm assuming 1 and 2 would probably get it, but then 3, 4, and 5 probably can't have access to it, or is
It
it?
was 2 and 4, wasn't it?
You guys know.
okay, it tends
Can you guys address that?
I'm sorry, it tends to be fields 2 and 4 in the rear of the property.
Okay.
They've been going on since, I think, 2004, soon, right after the fields were up. But the problem being is, at a certain time in their season, which goes to early November, it's too dark to get any type of practice, and they're coming out of school and they can't even practice,
All right.
so. Yes.
So these
State
lights
name,
are,
just-
yeah, they're mobile lights, so they can pretty much go anywhere you need them to go. They're on wheels and just kind of roll them out, you know, turn them on sort of thing. The reason we asked for this is it's just an improvement of what we have. Right now, they're gas powered, they're noisy, they're not fantastic lights, to be honest with you. They're a little hazy. They're old in the old version of portable lights. The ones that we're asking about would be an investment on our part to purchase them, but they would be better lighting. They help with noise pollution, there's no sound associated with them. They help with light pollution, which means that they will, they're designed in a way that they will be right on where you want to light, and they're not going to light the surrounding area as well. And then you're not burning gas, essentially, right where the kids are and so forth, is not getting that air pollution as well. So, and the cost of it, I said it already, it's 88 cents a day for electricity, so it's not a huge cost as far as that's concerned as well.
Just a quick question, who's paying for the gas to power these currently?
We are.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The club Triton and then us, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Whomever are the users.
So if it's electric, air quotes, the town would be paying?
Well, if they're accessing our electrical,
Yeah.
great.
I'll be honest, it'll cost you probably more to put the box in to monitor it. I would suggest charge us $100, $200 a season without monitoring, and save yourselves a lot of money for the monitor.
I guess the question is, what would you do? You running power lines under the ground, or would you run them on?
Right now, the ones that we're looking at are battery.
Oh,
So we
okay.
just plug them in, they would charge, or
Oh,
plug will
okay.
turn them on.
So you just need a space to plug in?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
how long does it take to recharge a battery?
The recharging period, I'm not sure on, it goes for 4 hours, the battery that's in there. How long it takes to recharge them, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure when you're done, you plug
So
them in.
the unit itself, where your request is you're just upgrading what you're already, you're improving what you're already doing. The electrical aspect is a different part.
Correct.
So if you were to find a way to charge the battery, you could just replace it and bring the battery from wherever.
The battery, I believe, is, well, that's a good question. I don't know if how it's attached to the unit. I would imagine it'd be prohibitive to keep taking the battery back and forth.
Right.
Because Jason might use it one day, I might use it the next, I'd have to find him to get the battery and bring it back. So we would leave the battery attached to the unit and plug it in somewhere, that's the ideal.
So that
Where are the
means
units
just,
stored currently?
what's that?
Where are the gas units?
Down at the
They're
bottom
just
of the hill.
They're just kind of off
Yeah.
to the side.
They're like
Yeah.
down on the
They're at the
pavement.
bottom of the hill.
So then these would need to be moved
Yeah,
or
they're also smaller units, by the way, they're
Yeah.
a little more compact as well.
to a power
We're talking
source.
2 months for the year, it's
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
mid-September, mid-November.
So again, so are they gonna be in that same far fields? Does that mean that you guys are gonna have to run power from, let's say the field house, because I think it's the closest place, there's no,
We could roll them over to where the plug is.
there's no exterior plugs in that field at all? They're just
Not in the
irrigation?
field.
Yeah,
no,
there's just irrigation.
There are field, outlets on the
So
external.
you could roll them over.
Correct. Yeah, they're very portable.
So that's the idea with it, would be if we have access to power on the field house, you guys roll them over, plug them in, charge them, then roll them back
We
up.
would not leave them on the field, we would
Yeah.
roll them off.
Okay, cool.
At this point, I think we just take it under advisement, get more facts, continue working with the town.
Yeah, can you find out what the voltage is? Is that the kind of thing where
I-
it just,
I
how you do
have
it?
Mark has all the spec sheets.
Okay, so I didn't know if it's just regular 120 or we had to provide,
No, I believe it's 120, if I'm mistaken.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a big shop, essentially.
I will forward that mail for everybody for your edification.
Right. No, for us.
Yeah.
I like the idea of electric, not gas.
Yeah.
A lot of
Just
advantages.
charge us flat fee and
Yeah.
be done with it and move on.
It
It's
literally is
better,
88
everyone will
cents
be happy.
To run for 4 hours, it's really.
And then you're
Oh,
also, you know, you're eliminating the noise. You won't piss off any neighbors.
Oh, you make it neighbors very happy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
How many would you be getting? 2, 3?
We're still deciding, I think we're looking at 2 to 4, depending on what we want to do, 2 and 4. It could be also be a progressive process where we might buy 2 this year, we can afford it, and then buy 2 the following year. Right now, we're too late for this fall anyway, so we're really looking at next fall.
Next fall, okay. I think that's something probably has to go be bounced off the select board too, because that's kind of a big ask for us to.
Well, let's get our
Yeah.
ducks in a row and
Yep.
we can approach and
Yep.
determine the best way to approach it.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'd love to say yes on that, but.
Good dialogue though.
Okay, permit applications for the field court, field house. Do you get permit applications for us?
I did. I have, okay, so John's has already passed, his 7:15 Saturday one. So back in June, I got one from Patrick Harding, and this was for the, did he talk to you, David? Was he the one who talked to you about youth football?
Yes, youth football.
Oh, yeah, hi. So that request was, August 15th to November 3rd, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 5 to 7 PM for about 30. So all these dates are held. And for field one,
Are we overlapping right now with anyone?
no, it doesn't appear that we are. If you look at the calendar, everybody has their own.
That's, Trenton Soccer cannot reserve the fields, because it was, you can't
You can't double, you can't
You
put
can't
2 on.
reserve
Right.
and then-
and that was the email that I had sent, saying that we tried to reserve the fields.
Yeah, I thought Lindsay turned around and said that issue had been resolved, but you didn't, but you weren't able to go back in and do it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, then that's so I guess my question in being real, like, newer at this is, if there is an overlap, who does take precedent over?
According to a document that we created, there are a couple things in play. One, if these are 2 organizations coming in at the same time, there would be a preference for town committee or boards to recommend the Newbury residents for personal use, seasonal permit holders in Triton, established friends. Triton Youth Sports Organization's non-permit holders. That was number 2 on a reservation application process. Number 3 is the addition of tier, current annual recurring use about first opportunity renew, etc.
Do you need goalposts?
Nope.
How much area do you need?
50 by 50 yards would be just enough for us, I think.
And you said that that area, that little flat area up top, did not work for you?
Yeah, it's the main problem we run into since we started in 2019. We started practicing at the Ipswich Town Hall. This year they're gonna have 5 teams. The popularity's grown for the sport. We moved out of Ipswich Town Hall a couple of years ago when they had Triple E. So we moved over to, after some wrangling, the JV, the softball field at Triton, which is really more way out in the outfield. It's like a connecting part going out to the field hockey. So it's very uneven, a lot of divots. We had 2 foot and ankle injuries last year. So we really are running out of places to practice. In Mantor, we know my daughter plays soccer. If there was space, and we do have it's not every day we would need it, it's just 3 days a week in season. If we could work something out, that'd be terrific, because it's just a flat, clean playing surface. We don't need goalposts. We're pretty self-sufficient at this point.
What age group?
It's 8th graders. That's the team that I would have. We have 5 teams. Most of the program now is Triton kids, ironically, after we merged with them. Our team is over half Triton kids. All of our coaches are Triton, from Salisbury, me and Newbury, and Dave Kirkopoulos and Rowley. So it's very central. It's 11 miles from Ipswich, I think, 8 miles from Salisbury, or it's inverted. So that's why we're looking at that place in particular. It's just so convenient for everybody, yeah.
So the overlap seems to be the Tuesday, Thursday slot. Because it doesn't look like Triton meets Fridays, they have Saturdays, yeah, so Tuesday, Thursday from 5 to 7. From August to November.
Going out of our jurisdiction, the rec committee, is Newbury Elementary an option?
My daughter plays softball there. I'd have to look at those fields more, but it could be. Sure, we're going to be flexible. We're just kind of desperate, actually.
I
Yeah.
hear the struggle. What I find a challenge is any sport group or anybody who wants to use fields here, there's not a central avenue to go through.
Right.
So for Newbury Elementary, even though it's town property, you go through the town, the principal. And there's no coordination with us. If you want to use the upper green, the lower green, that's the select board. If you want to use Mantor, it's us. If you want to use the Martha Pearson field,
So
that's
Martha,
an option.
is Martha Pearson, you know that field?
Yeah.
The library, is that not adequate for what
I
you
don't
guys
think,
need?
I don't think that would work.
So this is one of the reasons why Kent Way would be such a
Yeah,
great
Yeah, Kent would be good.
addition to meet a current need. Because this isn't I don't think you're the only group that would benefit for space.
Yeah, and this is more of a legacy thing too, because I'm done after this year. My son's going to high school. But
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But 75% of our registrants are Triton. It's waning participation at Ipswich. The high school football program, setting aside what happened with that head coach, he turned that program around.
Yeah.
And we're the feeder program, and we just really haven't had much connection until we've been able to go on these unleveled fields at the JV softball team where the coach would drop in after practice. The players would come over and talk to the kids. So when we're at the Ipswich Town Hall, and most of our people are Triton,
It's a
it doesn't really behoove us to be over there. So that's the other thing too, again, central location, close to the Triton High School, but for the years after I'm gone, with all those other kids that are coming up now. And who knows, it might flip-flop to it be a Triton Ipswich because,
It does.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
But it's important to keep that going, because
I think
if you
so.
don't have the feeders, then, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
the program will die.
exactly, which it did in 2016, I think. This is when we switched over, and maybe 2017 was the first year.
Yeah, and having followed Triton football, there were some lean years. And then last year they.
Yeah, they won the Cape Henry, yeah.
So-
Is there open time right now?
So,
Is there open time we can do some kind of compromise and give them some space?
Yeah, we definitely would not need a whole field. I mean, the dimensions are, they look like maybe 80 by 120 or something.
The other possibility is Pine Grove, because I
Pine Grove, yeah.
arranged with
It's a good bond.
Ipswich Youth Soccer to use Pine Grove. And we moved some of our teams over to Mantor to allow Ipswich Youth Soccer to go there.
Mhm.
Is that Raleigh? Pine
Yeah,
Grove?
Yeah.
it's Raleigh.
And you have the back side, they
Yeah.
only use the front side, they don't use the back side. Now you have your Ipswich programs all together.
But backside and front side, I know there's
Where
a
the
baseball field.
where the
Yeah.
baseball field is, that would be considered the backside.
Okay,
They have
Oh,
their
right.
soccer field coming from this end, from the parking lot.
okay. I could look at it, yeah, I don't know if that, I don't remember, I haven't been over there in a while.
But that's about the size of like a 77 field, a little bit bigger, but that will be there because Ipswich reached out and we're trying to help Ipswich, because I guess they lost some of their soccer fields, their 99 fields. So we're crammed.
Mhm.
So we already helped David Zizza,
Oh, I know
baseball
that.
coach, you know David.
Yeah.
He's the person that oversees the Raleigh field,
The Raleigh at Pine Grove.
Pine Grove.
Yeah, so I worry about that, I think I reached out in February for this. I worry about the late time, but we can explore it. I would imagine I go through a Raleigh town board or something.
No, David
Go
Zizza.
right through Dave? Okay.
I mean, yeah, with the time,
I mean, we could change our practice days too, if Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays work better.
let's see, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so soccer has Monday and Wednesday, on field. I mean, as you said, you don't have to have necessarily field one, just an opening.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was arbitrary. I think that's where the pop corner, I think when I talked to you, Mark.
Yeah.
That's where they used
They
to
used to
practice.
do pop and cheer.
Right.
Now, would you expect to be going up
Four.
all season, till 7:30? How long is your season
Yeah,
going for?
so, and that's another thing too, is that we have camp that starts a month from, 4 weeks from today, August 14th. And that's 4 days a week for 3 weeks.
In Lindsay.
And we could do,
Courtney.
Courtney,
Hey,
sorry.
Courtney.
Hi.
I apologize.
That's
What
okay.
about field 5B?
Yeah, I was just actually looking at 4 and 5B.
Because 5B is away, it's the 7799, I talked to Mark about resting it.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying not to reserve it.
Yeah,
Well,
So if it's available, we're going to reserve, but if Pat wants it for Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we can reserve it for Wednesday, Monday and Wednesday
yep.
and use it, because I do have to add a little bit more time.
Yeah, it only looks like 5B is taken on there's a Saturday.
On Saturdays.
Yep, but no, otherwise it's open.
well, here's a question though, that we've noticed some wear spots, and we did not get to DPW in time for them to start their summer maintenance program, where we usually shut down one field, they supersede it, try to get and one year it was 2 fields, because there was a lot of wear. On field 5A and 5B, there's a lot of wear, and the thought was, currently they run perpendicular to the big fields as they are. If they're the same space, if you move it parallel and do those dead spots, would that interfere with that work? I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
No.
I think I know what you're talking about.
No, 5B is open, because Mass Rush they have a request for field 4, I was thinking field 4 too, but they have a field 4, but 5B doesn't, nobody seems to have, requests for 5B.
Okay. I guess, I'm trying to explain how to explain it.
Should we get an okay from DPW about the shape of the fields and how the summer's progressed with the rain and things like that? Is that a definite thing they plan on doing, or is that something we were gonna ask them to do?
They've recognized the need to do it. And if we were to shut down the field completely, that means somebody doesn't get access. If we were to rotate the fields from the east-west orientation
horizontal to
to a
vertical?
north-south, would that give them space to reserve in the fall? So I don't think I'd be worried about doing it in August, because once we put the seed down, and we're gonna have that blistering weather that we're having, and the grass won't do as well. Does that make sense? Jason, if we were to move the fields parallel to the big fields, because currently they are perpendicular,
I think we
would
said going this way as opposed to
could
on
we
that
shift the
way.
fields to meet the bald spots, or the parts that we should be addressing?
Wicked smooth.
So if you have the field like this, the bald spots are at the end. When you turn it, now the long side of the field is hitting the bald spots. We can't squeeze the fields. It's easier to slide the fields, you know, sideways to where they currently are.
So separate the fields greater,
You separate the fields greater to open up the bald spots.
and how much space would that take? I guess
Yeah,
Could
and
you do
sometimes we shift it this way or this way, but if we turn the fields,
gotcha.
it's the width that we will run into
So you
issues.
just lay it out differently and
Yes. And, yeah,
is that manageable?
I mean, it's potentially, yes.
Okay.
Again, we just need 50 by 50, not a full field, if that helps.
Is it 50 yards?
Yeah, we just need a half a field.
Yeah, like a half a football field.
Yeah.
Can we work together to make sure that fits?
Yeah, I mean, Pat, if you're
Yeah.
available, we could take a stop over
Yeah.
after here. I don't know where you live, but,
Yeah, maybe bring, but I could, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Sounds great. But otherwise, Miss Yondo at NES, I can go look at that field, I can talk to Dave if we have to at Raleigh.
I would propose to give you the sanctity of your own space.
Mhm,
Let's try to find alternatives, and this is sort of a backup,
mhm.
and we'll still get things planned. And I think my suggestion would be to approve it as so that it's done.
Mhm.
So there is some comfort, like, okay, I can practice. But the priority is to see if we can't get behind NES. I
Yeah.
think that I would ask the committee for a vote to support, if we would support the request for, this would Triton Youth Football to pursue that. That we want them, we want to help them get that space.
That's fine. Is there conditions to that? When you were saying the whole thing about
When you
use
say-
and,
When you say that space, we're talking this space here.
Whatever you want.
I'm just,
are we
I'm
talking
so,
about
I'm
field-
sorry, you're
field
talking
number
about
5?
these
That
fields, not,
we want
not
to
NES.
reserve fields for 5A and 5B to be used between and amongst these applicants.
Right.
Yeah.
Ideally, getting space at Newberry Elementary so that they could keep equipment there. It would be easier, potentially easier, if it's an ideal space.
I mean, I have no problem with that.
We're trying to make it work here first.
Well, the first priority is finding another space. I guess the problem is, we have a good problem. A lot of people want to use our space. We have a bad problem is that there's space available within this town that we have no control over, though it's town property. And years ago, when I checked with Newberry Elementary, after 5 o'clock, that space isn't being used during the fall. During the spring, it was used by softball.
Yep.
So there's spaces available.
Right,
Same
so
thing
he's
with-
gonna look into that,
Yeah.
so.
So
So
what,
that's on, that ownership, what I'm saying is that ownership's on him, not on us.
so you're making a motion to let him use that reconfigured field? Is
Field,
that- Yeah,
and support going forward so that the Newberry Elementary understands our predicament and we're supporting the use of that field for future use. All right, let's do one thing first. Let's, I'm sorry, I'm not being clear.
no, it's, so you're making a motion to approve,
Except that working, that Triton Youth Soccer and the football program work together to resolve the issue so that we can get it properly seated. Okay.
second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye?
So should I hold, should I,
Yeah.
I go in and hold 5
All right,
then?
it's approved.
Football.
So, I don't know,
Should I go in and, do we have Patrick go back in and have to put in just the formality of like, hey, I want 5B?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Alright,
just do my rec and do the same thing?
Yep.
And just do 5B for the days of the weekend time that you wanted.
Okay.
alright.
And I'll,
We'll just walk
Yeah.
over and I'll show you.
cool. Thank you
Oh.
guys.
No problem. Any
Thank you,
other-
Jason.
Yeah, Jason. So any other applications we have to go over as far as the,
And then the last one was Mass Rush. So they had applications for, they actually, the way she puts it in is like she reserves each field like separately. So they want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays from 5 to 7:30 from August 21st to November 17th, and then Sundays from September 10th to November 5th. The Sunday slots are 10 to 4 and 9 to noon on their respective field requests, so field 2. And that was, so those entities were the only ones for the fall.
Does that include Triton Youth Soccer?
And then, sorry, we talked so much about Triton Youth Soccer that I thought we brought it up already. And then Triton Youth Soccer was the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, from 5 to 7 p.m. from August 28th to November 4th.
this is typical, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask, what is Mass Rush?
Private
Private.
lacrosse.
Private, no, soccer. Private soccer.
It's a soccer club.
Yeah, soccer club.
Based in
Got
Newbury?
it. Got it, nice. They change.
I'm just wondering about the prioritization. Is this their first year?
No.
No, they've been here for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work though? If it's a private club,
They're an existing
Used town.
reoccurring user.
okay.
Yeah, they've been around. They,
That takes precedence.
Yeah.
Okay.
The geographical basis, the club is right here.
It is, okay. All right, so it's Triton Kids.
Yeah. So it's, as with any program,
Yeah, it's all
you
over
start
the
pulling
place.
down where it's from. Years ago, we would charge by the number of Newberry kids versus out of town.
Yeah. Yeah, I get on there. Sounds like a club baseball team.
it gets difficult.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of Triton Youth Soccer players on their club.
Okay.
So we have those motions, correct? To,
For Rush, Triton Youth Lacrosse, and for Johns.
Soccer.
try to cross in that group too?
Sorry, Triton
Youth
Soccer.
soccer. So
Soccer.
try youth soccer
Yep,
is one of the applications.
Yep.
And Rush is the other
Rush,
one.
yeah, and then
And
Patrick.
Patrick and then
Yeah,
John.
yeah, we've already approved Patrick, right?
John's was the, last
Pickleball.
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just have to approve, if we get this right, Triton,
Mhm.
youth,
Triton Youth
soccer,
Mass
and
Rush.
Rush. Okay. So I make a motion that we approve both Matt's Rush and Triton Youth Soccer for the fall season under the hours they requested. Do I have a second on that?
Mark, yes.
Mark says
Second.
yes, Mark says yes.
What was the
I
comment
can't do
about
two things at
picking
once.
their equipment up or moving their equipment up?
Oh, yes, that was the other thing, is, we have to discuss, making sure that we remove the equipment from the field, because it's still all on there now. And it's just that residents drive by, and it'd be nice to have open fields, if you wanna have a couple of soccer fields, I mean, it just, I talked to DPW, and they said that they are willing, if someone wants to call them, to find a space in the field house to put nets, depending, not, obviously not large ones, but, it would be great to have those off the field, so we've asked that before, so that's the only sort of sticking point.
It's actually quite comical to watch them move them while they're cutting the grass.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
it's gotta be difficult for them to be cutting, the grass.
No, they move them with the tractor, which is really
Yeah.
fun.
I thought they enjoyed that.
I enjoy it. I'm enjoying
So-
it, they don't.
I'm good, yeah.
So, we can definitely move some nets.
Yes,
We'll
yes,
keep a couple on there, cause I know
Yep.
even when I drive by, you
Yep.
have a lot of kids that are just shooting.
yeah,
and
a couple
they
is
have
great,
their cup.
it's just, yeah, if you,
And then,
just talk to, call DPW.
Yeah. DPW, which I mentioned to Mark, what happens if, the goals get damaged by DPW?
I think that the way they would probably have it happen would be that you guys would be in charge of putting them in whatever place.
No, not moving them while they're on the field during the season.
I have no idea. I mean, right now, they're moving them with tractors, I guess, to cut the grass,
Yeah.
and we asked to have them off, so I mean, I guess they're doing the best they can.
I guess part of the issue is if they hit the back lower side of the net, there's no support beam to support it, or the front, and it collapses in the middle. But if there might be a better way for them to move it with their vehicle, as opposed to having to remove them every day before they mow on short notice.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say, I don't know, if the soccer nets you wanted to leave up were on the far end of the field, and they had this big open field to just cut, it would make things a lot easier for them. And again, I talked to them, they were glad to make a space for you in that, for the smaller nets.
For the smaller nets, I think that the question is, particularly during the spring season when the grass is growing this year exponentially,
Like right now?
it's cumbersome to move all the nets into one area by hand, to give them a full field to cut. So it's,
I might have moved one myself, one of the big ones myself one year when I was a little testy about the location.
so
It's honest.
let's, we can bring DPW in for when we look at the.
Yeah, I'll
field
talk
in
to
the morning.
James, that would be on my list of things to do, so I'll talk to James and find out what makes life easier for them.
And
So during the off-season, right now,
Yep.
until our fall season begins, we'll move some of the nets. We're gonna keep a couple on the field for the public to use.
Yeah, like what, when you say couple two?
2 cents, what would you say?
Yeah.
2 cents and a small set?
Yeah, 2 cents.
2 cents. 4 total.
Okay.
That'll be a big set and a small set. A big set of goals, small set of goals, depending upon what age group. The small set's easier to move than the big ones, so depending.
Yeah, my thing has been, as a resident driving by it, you don't get the feeling that those fields are open to everybody because there's stuff on it.
Mhm.
And so if you guys decide to do that, if you put it on one area, like the far end, or I don't know, whatever's easiest or whatever, but if they're in one area, then town residents are like, hey, there's fields out there, we can fly a kite, or, something like that. So,
let's work with DPW to
Yeah.
figure out the best
So we'll-
solution for.
We'll go through and move the goals to field 4, that's the back side,
okay, cool,
alright? Then what we're talking about is during the season,
yep,
DPW uses their machines to move the goals
Okay,
without hopping off the machine to move them by hand.
all right,
We don't know where to move them, and when they move them by the machine, they break the goals.
okay, I'll have that discussion. with
That
James.
we could table the conversation, but if we wanna talk to DPW, we can.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, because if you contact James at DPW, he knows, I already opened the door to that. He said he'd love to, set aside some room for you guys to put things in there.
We can't really move the goal. The problem is in order to mow, he has to mow, move the goal.
Yeah.
And move it back.
Yeah,
So there's no real way to put them in a spot where they could mow. It has to be mowed and then moved, correct?
And move back.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, they're not moving, we can just push them back if they want to get back off the mower, but it has to be moved once. Either, so you
And
know
not
where
with
the
the
goal is,
machine.
and where we put them.
And basically not with the machine, that's the ask.
It's costly, we're gonna have to buy a new set of goals here, at our cost because they're broken, they're very expensive.
Jason and Patrick will be talking about, you're gonna have a site visit to see how we can arrange the fields. That might be a good time to bring in DPW so they're apprised of what's going on, and maybe that's a good time to show him what's going on. Does that
yeah,
make
they may not
sense?
be aware that their tractors are doing a number on, and they may also, I don't know how they,
Not intentional, it's just, you need to get them.
Gotta get it
Where the
done.
grass is growing.
yeah. All right, so the motion's been set, did we second it, correct? Yeah, Mark seconded it. We're ready to vote? Everyone, any more discussion on this? Let's vote. I vote to approve.
I,
All right.
Okay. Can we just do John again? I don't remember, I don't have it in my notes that we voted on that. So I make the motion, we accept John's application to use the field.
The field last weekend.
Yeah, feel my
Okay,
side.
forget it.
Yeah.
We
We were
did.
actually there all day because it's raining.
We did. Yeah.
So I went over my time. I should have some.
Yep. So
no, it's free.
it's a long night. It's a long night. It's a really
You
long
owe
night.
us more zeros.
Master plan proposal we've already done, and Kent Way. Anyone want to talk about Kent Way?
I think we table it.
Okay, let's do
tonight
it.
'cause it's
All
getting
right, I
late.
motion to table Kent Way until next week. Second, anyone?
Second.
All right, I'll approve. Fine, we're tabling that. I motion we sort of change the order of the new business to sneak in Newbury Town Day first, because I think people are here to talk
Let's
about
just
that.
suspend everything else.
Okay, well, I make a motion to suspend fiscal year spending plan 24 for TV, same thing with the jurisdiction review, and move on right to Newbury Town Day. Second, everyone approve?
Aye.
All right, let's do it. Newbury Town Day. Sorry.
Jack Rybicki again, 37 Larkin Road, here on behalf of Newbury Town Day. August 26th, Courtney, Saturday afternoon, we're looking for probably 3 to 10 o'clock at night for field use, all of it, the whole complex. We're proposing opening up with the wondrousness that is the pickleball tournament run by John Reagan from about 3 to 5. About 5 to 7 or so, there'll be a band playing. There'll be a closing ceremony to Newbury Town Days. And then there'll be a movie still to be determined. We will end that, or it will end in the 9:30-ish range. Whereupon, of course, the Newbury Town Days will conclude. I've spoken with our police chief, Patty Fisher, who will have presence, and at the conclusion of the event, we'll have officers moving the parking and people out of the lot safely. I've talked to also the Board of Health as well, because there's a program in Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Mosquito and Wetlands Protection Program that Newbury is a big part of, and Deb Rogers has agreed to contact the mosquito people who will pre-treat the field ahead of the event on Saturday, so we're trying to take some preventative measures, understanding we're in a pretty tough spot for mosquitoes and bugs anyway, but we hope that people, between that mitigation and the personal choices of sprays and whatnot that everybody uses, that will be kept to a minimum. I talked to Jim as well. Jim assured, Jim of DPW, Jim told me that he would make sure that on Friday, the existing trash will be empty for us, and as well, he will cut the fields accordingly for the, not out of sync for what he does normally, but that the fields will be in good shape for the public use there as well. Also, of course, as a carry-in, carry-out, our volunteers will make sure everything, if not that night, we'll be back in the morning to make sure there isn't any residual stuff left, and as it is how it will be left, like all the good girls and Boy Scouts, every citizen in Newbury is at heart. So if, with your approval, we greatly appreciate the opportunity to bring this event to Newbury, and would look greatly forward to hosting it for the benefit of everybody.
And with that date's open, correct?
It is open.
The date again?
26.
August 26th.
August 26th. The only question I have, and I don't know anything to do with anything when it comes to music, is that something we approve, or is that, I know that we did the Byfield Days years ago, and I think, did it have to go to the select board, or is that something we approved? It's 2 years ago.
That's an entertainment license,
Yeah.
so they'd have to get that for the movie anyways, and I don't know if they need to get,
As far as field usage, I'm totally in.
No, our next stops will be what you're getting to. Just we'll be with this. If you so choose to approve it, will of course be on the agenda for the select board's next meeting for all of those appropriate approvals as well. So because August 26th, of course, is nearly around the corner, and the next select board meeting is, I think, 2 weeks, 23rd or something. Right?
so no food,
Pardon?
no food.
Newbury Food Pantry is going to operate outside. They have a self-sustaining method of serving hot dogs and hamburgers. They'll bring their own grills, they'll bring their own pop-ups, they'll appear and disappear accordingly, and all the proceeds from them will benefit the food pantry directly. Thanks for
So
bringing
they'll
that
take
up,
care
Mark.
of all their own permits.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I thought I saw kite flying at one point.
That's not for us. That's going to be at Spencer Pierce Little. A lot of the events, of course, will start at Spencer Pierce. There's a breakfast at the Byfield Community Arts Center. Events morph from Byfield Community Arts Center over to the Spencer Pierce Little property. The Plum Island Airport has a couple of wonderful events. We'll be running a hayride in between both venues, so that that in and of itself will be an event to integrate both of those sites. And there's also happy to say that we'll have a dunk tank if you're also inclined as well. We're coming up with that, so.
Are you sitting in the tank?
Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, there's another volunteer over here, current select board member Dana Packer, myself, and former select board member Mike Doyle have all volunteered for the Almost Celebrity Newbury Dunk Tank event, and we'll auction on.
Anybody who would like to be part of the dunk tank will auction off, and the money will go, the proceeds will go to the food pantry.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And we'll hold that, this open house at the police department and the fire department in Morgan and High. So that's like roughly 12 to 2, so we're gonna hold the dunk tank 2 to 3. And then there'll be some quiet time, and then everybody will be morphing over to Central Park, Central Fields.
How many people are you expecting?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
I hope I'm buried, frankly. I hope that everybody in this town wishes to come, and that it's SRO, standing room only. We're in uncharted waters as far as holding an event of this consequence proposed. I don't think anybody's ever held a drive-in. I'm positive nobody's ever held a drive-in movie at the field, and I'm excited for the possibility, not only this year, but moving forward, should we have great success with with the family-oriented notion of unity and community. I think it's an event that we can all enjoy and frankly relate to. And I hope
I'm sorry, what time did you say it started?
the sunset sunset doesn't happen until 7:30.
Right.
So we start shortly thereafter. I'm aiming for about a 2-hour movie. So again, trying to keep it. We don't want to watch Apocalypse Now there and be out there till midnight, of course, right? As intriguing as that may be.
What's up with Blair Witch Project?
Right. So no, we're trying to just get out by 9:30, 9:45 with a family-oriented movie that bridges, 5 to 75, frankly.
Where are we going to set the screen up?
We're going to put the screen towards the orientation for us would be if you were at Central, much like the Circus Smirkus was, the backside of it, of the area. I surmise that the Newbury Food Pantry people will be between the pickleball court and the field house in that area to keep, because we'll need the field house, of course, for the bathroom component, so we'll keep that area open. It's a 40-foot screen. It's a blow-up diagonal. So we can move it around. It's not as if we stake it in and have, and we own that spot. In fact, if weather was, questionable of any kind, we could frankly move it over. And if we orient the parking lot properly with all the headlights moving towards the field, I could actually put it on just beyond the wooden parking lot fencing low, so that everybody could it would actually be a drive-in. The preference is where we were trying to do a picnic in. So it's Starlight Theater at Central Fields.
All right.
Is what we're calling.
My question is, are you guys getting porta potties, or are you looking for the field house use of the bathrooms?
Field house use of the bathrooms.
Okay, please get certification from Board of Health, because I don't know what the criteria is for the number of people. Whenever anybody has done a large event, like
We
you're
usually-
proposing, they're required to have the appropriate number of bathrooms
Porta potties.
available. Well, the field house.
How many heads do you have? How many heads did the town build that to serve?
The men's room, I haven't.
Men's and women's. How many did we? I mean, it should be at hand.
It should be 3
3 people or 3 heads?
heads.
Per. So I don't know what that translates to, but I'll talk to Deb Rogers. Absolutely, whatever she wants.
Just
So-
resolve that.
So what happens is, with prior people renting that field, we've always had a provision in there, especially when it's someone from the outside. Obviously, the town people, but someone from the outside, they'd have to provide their own porta potties. But if that works as far as, I just don't know if 3 stalls per gender is, or 6 stalls total, I should say, would cover everyone. And if it does, that's great.
Well, the number I used for the copyright to get a movie, you have to give them a criteria, because when you cut a deal with them, sometimes it's flat rate. If it's a big enough venue, they're going to want a piece of your action.
Yeah.
So you cut a deal accordingly. What I told them for the moment was I don't expect more than 200 to be there at this time. So that would be my number. And that at this moment, frankly, that would be a wish number. I don't know of an event that I can compare it to beyond a typical busy Saturday where, it's loaded with soccer or lacrosse or you guys. And if it suffices for the gangs that are out there, then I would say it would probably suffice for the expected use. And of course, we'll pivot to next year's success based on this success. We live and we learn, and I would do that accordingly.
Ask the Board of Health to make that recommendation or suggestion. I mean, there are differences between absolute number on a particular day versus a group that from 3 to 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, because
is
there's
gonna
be
be
people
there
that for an hour and they move on an hour.
Yeah, so just check with them.
Oh, no, I don't want anybody to have to wait longer than they need to. That's a fact.
No, what we're saying is with the soccer groups and the lacrosse groups, they're for an hour game and then they go home. So it's not like everyone hits the.
Plus we stagger our games because of the referee, that's all.
All right.
What is the rating of the movie?
It will be a G or at best PG. I'd imagine it'll be, again, we're trying to bridge generations. I hardly think that I'll step beyond a 13 or that we would approve anything beyond a 13. Again, we're trying to some combination.
I I think if people are coming, they'll know, whatever movie you decide on, they'll know whether it's appropriate or not.
But could you,
It'll be a musical anime, I mean, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Toy
Which version?
Story, you know, things like that. Yeah. The original Willy Wonka, by the way, not the remake.
There is only
We're
one.
going with, you know?
just make sure when you go to the, I would suggest making sure that the board of select.
Oh, I have the permit over here, there's 4 other people I got Board of Health, there's several other people I have to go visit. You just happen to be I need permission for the field and everything else will fall into place, that's the
With the
fact.
field, and the pickleball court, I don't know if there was anything put in my rec to reserve.
No,
this-
John is gonna be running a pickleball tournament
Okay, that's not my
before.
question.
Oh.
The question was reserving the space for it. Because we can't just say, you have it, and it's not in the system.
No, I know, that's what I'm here for, right?
It's supposed to be done online.
Put it in your.
How would I
And,
could I rent the whole field for the day online?
yeah,
So should I have done that before I came to ask for this, and it wouldn't have been even necessary to ask for this formality?
well, then we'd still,
I think we would have asked all the same questions,
Yeah.
but then it would have just been like, okay, we already know the date and the time, the block.
Yeah, that's why I reached out ahead, that's why I
Already
no problem.
been
So, no, I would have been happy to, I don't mind visiting any link you want to provide whatsoever, for sure.
Okay.
and then just ask those, because typically we charge for the fields. What we would ask you to do is, because we can't make that determination, ask the board, select board to waive the fee. So that it's, because it's a townwide event. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, I'm fully capisce all of the path I have in
There's
front
no
of me.
fee for town.
They're not a town organization, they're not the rec committee, unless we rent it, if we give it to ourselves.
I'm sure we'll work it out at the upper echelon, Mark,
Yeah,
trust me.
just dotting the i's, crossing the t's, or
Okay,
crossing the i's.
so we can vote on this without it being in the mind
Yes.
rack, I assume. And I think you should bring up the motion, but throw in your little
Condition.
conditions, one,
Motion approved as a request to support Byfield, Newberry
Town
Town
Day.
Days. I missed Byfield Days.
Yeah.
Newberry Town Days with the use of the complex at Central Street on the condition they obtain all necessary permits and waivers that are required for use of town property, and that we will not be requesting, we were asking them to ask the town select board to waive the fee. I think that covers everything.
It's your vote.
Yeah. I would like a second on that.
Second.
Please.
any discussion on that? Do we have to, we don't have to add that bit, when you said all the appropriate fees, that also means getting in touch with Board of Health, correct?
Yes,
Encompass in that.
permits,
Okay,
application.
I'm totally good with that. It's been seconded, we have a vote here, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
All right,
I
congratulations.
guess the only thing, sorry, that I ask, in terms of for the formality of my rec, go to the
Will
town
I?
website, go in there and just, whatever block of time, but just go in there so
I'll
that,
just exit,
so that I can just go check.
I'll X everything out, if nothing
Okay.
else, an alarm will go off and it'll call you to the computer.
Great.
Yeah, you'll
I
figure
offer-
it out.
All right.
I just offer for the record, Board of Health, Building Inspector, Fire Department, and Police Department are the next spots I have to go to, so I'm pretty sure we'll cover all the bases.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
Thank you.
that's excellent.
Look forward to it.
So,
Next
next meeting would be, first, the first Monday in August,
Which is August 7th.
August 7th, I can do,
6 o'clock?
can't do the, yeah,
I have a conflict.
okay?
We will still have a,
I think we'll be fine.
yeah, we anticipate having enough quorum.
You have a conflict?
I have a conflict. That whole week.
Oh, the whole week, okay, all right.
So we can either bump it or just continue on. Because you have a quorum.
There's some things we should get to.
Who's Chris? What else?
There was a couple of things we tabled.
Yeah, they can continue.
Yeah, and all those,
The first one, because I hope down the road we do
I'm good.
He's good.
If I can remember.
All right, so let's plan on, let's do it August, 8th, August 7th, I'm sorry, August 7th.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think what they is a little.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Just outside me.
And I will work hard to get the minutes out in a timely manner.
Don't worry about that, because I'm gonna be working on that too.
I
Let's,
second it,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:07.
and I second that.
All in favor?
Wait, I wanna know.
Aye.
Oh, I'll turn off the thing.
All right, awesome.